Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, where we're going to take a diagnostic journey into the subtle details that separate advanced English learners from native level precision. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right grammatically, but your English still sounds just a tiny bit different from a native speaker's, you are in the perfect place.
We've got a clear roadmap today. We're going to cover the almost right mistake, choosing whether or if, mastering fixed expressions, precise verb collocations, the linking verb distinction, and finally, the secret to precision. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The almost right mistake. Navigating the B2 uncanny valley. So let's start by validating a very real, very common frustration. It hits exactly when you think you've finally mastered the language. Have you ever built a perfectly grammatical sentence? I mean, the meaning is crystal clear, yet native speakers subtly react as if you just tripped over an invisible wire. You know you didn't make a beginner mistake, but something just didn't land perfectly, right? Well, here's the crucial point. These near misses, they don't break communication. If you use a slightly wrong word or maybe you put the right phrases in the wrong order, people are absolutely still going to understand you. But these errors do mark you as someone who's still working toward full fluency. And that's exactly what this explainer is all about. Identifying those specific near misses, which are super common at the B2 level, and fixing them for good. Moving on to Section 2, choosing whether or if, breaking the interchangeable myth. So for indirect questions and clauses of uncertainty, we're usually taught early on that these two words mean the exact same thing. I'm not sure if she's coming versus I'm not sure whether she's coming. They're both perfectly correct, right? And this kind of tricks us into thinking that choosing between whether and if is just, a personal style choice. But actually, that's only partially true. English enforces some pretty strict boundaries here. There are contexts where you absolutely must use whether, and if just flat out doesn't work. First, when you have alternatives, especially with the word or. Like, she couldn't decide whether to accept the offer or reject it. Substituting if there sounds really awkward. Second, directly before an infinitive verb. And third, after a preposition, like saying the debate about whether the regulation was fair. Now, I totally get that this can feel counterintuitive, especially if you speak a Slavic language like Russian or Ukrainian natively, where one single conjunction handles all these meanings. But in English, you've got to pay conscious attention to these specific rules. This example brilliantly illustrates what happens when we ignore that infinitive rule. Saying they discussed if to launch might sound sort of logical in your head, but it is just not grammatical in English. You literally must say they discussed whether to launch. All right, Section 3, Mastering Fixed Expressions, the unbreakable blocks. You really have to treat these phrases as single, unbreakable puzzle pieces. They act just like a single vocabulary word. If you change even one tiny word, like a preposition or an article, it produces something that native speakers will instantly find strange. And honestly, it stands out even more precisely because the rest of your sentence is so fluent. Let's look at a classic example. When you're saying something from memory without prep, a learner might say, from the top of my head. Now, the meaning is completely clear, but the preposition is wrong. The correct fixed expression is off the top of my head. Logic is not going to help you here at all. The phrase is simply fixed, and it just has to be memorized with that exact preposition. Here's a handy cheat sheet for you to actively incorporate. In the long run is what we use to frame an eventual outcome over time. For political leaders taking control, we say they come to power. Please don't say they arrived to power. That's a really common direct translation error from European languages. For preparing or installing something, use set up. Saying you're going to set a home office sounds unnatural. You are setting it up. Also, definitely make sure you never drop the word out from turn out to be. If you say the project turned to be more complicated, that's just not English. And lastly, get used to absolutely must be followed by a noun or an ing verb like get used to working from home. Never, ever the infinitive, get used to work. Section 4. Precise verb collocations, ditching general purpose verbs. So our third linguistic trap is relying way too heavily on general purpose verbs like make, do, or have. Saying the builder made holes in the wall isn't impossible, but it sounds a bit vague and almost childlike because English expects a much more specific verb here. Naming the action with precision shows genuine fluency. The standard natural choice for making a hole in a hard surface is drilled. The builder drilled holes. Here's another great precision point. Direct translation from your native language might tempt you to put a work table in your home office. That's because in some languages, the exact same word covers both objects. But precise English demands a distinction. A table is for eating and gathering. A piece of furniture used for computing and working, that is specifically a desk. Also, just a quick note on possession, which is a tiny detail that often trips up advanced learners. In formal British speech, you might hear someone say, "I haven't any idea," but using haven't alone like that in formal or neutral contexts sounds really incomplete or non-standard. The standard, safe bet, and the consistent rule across American English is using don't have. So saying I don't have any strong objections is infinitely better than I haven't any strong objections.
Section 5. The linking verb distinction, choosing the right auxiliary.
This brings us to our final technical rule, and it's all about a fundamental split in how English verbs actually function. Basically, English verbs divide into two types, and choosing the wrong auxiliary for the wrong type is a huge giveaway. The first type is action verbs, which describe things happening. But the second type is linking verbs, also known as state or copular verbs. We're talking about words like be, seem, feel, look, and remain. These don't describe something happening. They describe a state of being, a condition, or a quality. And crucially, they strictly dictate exactly how we form questions and negatives. Notice how action verbs use do, does, or did, like does the system work? Linking verbs, on the other hand, form questions using is, are, was, or were, and they're followed directly by an adjective or a noun. The error you want to aggressively avoid here is mixing these two concepts up. Because look, in some languages, a single auxiliary handles both. But in English, saying, does it comfortable, or the feedback did positive, is simply not English. Grammatically, it absolutely must be, is it comfortable, and the feedback was positive. You've really got to pay active attention to this until the linking verb group just becomes automatic.
Section 6. The secret to precision, refining the details.
I absolutely love this quote because it really honors your hard work. When you reach a high level of English, accuracy isn't about avoiding major structural errors anymore. You already know how to build a sentence. The work now is all about developing a sensitivity to the exact form English expects for a specific slot. It's all about refinement. Your foundation is already solid, so take these precision tools we've explored today. Navigating whether versus if, perfectly memorizing fixed expressions, upgrading your specific verb collocations, and strictly honoring that linking verb distinction. Slot those final puzzle pieces into place and just watch your fluency completely transform. So I'll leave you with this question. Which of these invisible linguistic tripwires are you going to consciously remove from your vocabulary today? Pick one, master it, and enjoy the absolute confidence that comes with native-level precision.